What is laser scribing? Laser scribing is a series of blind holes that are going more or less halfway into ceramic materials. Along this line, ceramic substrate or circuits can be easily broken out. It's a technology very similar to V-scoring or V-cutting in rigid and metal core PCBs. Why is laser scribing used? Laser scribing can have a number of advantages over full cutting of ceramic substrates. It goes faster, which means that the thermally affected zone along the edge of the PCB is much smaller, reducing the risk of microcracks which can weaken the material. Taper angle will be also much less than with full cutting. And last but not least, you can leave the PCB in a panel which is easier to assemble or which can be easier to assemble, and afterwards you can break them out into individual pieces without the need for an expensive laser or other equipment. Where can scribing be used and how to design for it? Straight edges as well as straight outer corners are best suited for laser scribing. Additionally, we also have developed a technique of deep scribing that can be used to scribe outward rounded corners so that they can be broken out clean. Inward corners, be it straight inward corners or rounded inward corners, are not possible and need to be milled or cut out. If you want to design your panel and you want to use laser scribing, then you can do two things. Either you can leave it up to us and we will indicate what will be the best zones for cutting and what will be the best zones for scribing, or you can do it yourself, in which case we advise that you place scribing and cutting on two separate layers in your design. This can be mechanical layers in Gerber files or just two separate layers in any other vector file. How to break out a scribe panel into individual pieces. First and foremost, there's a rule of thumb that says if your clamping or holding area is less than 10 times the thickness of the board, for example, if you have 5 millimeters or less than 5 millimeters for a 0.5 millimeter substrate, then we prefer that you use a jig or some other mechanical clamping device to make sure there's a clean breakout. If not, you can do it by hand in most cases. If you want to do it by hand, there's two techniques. You can use a cleaving, in which case you hold and you try to break the board in one area of the scribe line along which the crack propagates along the scribe line. Or secondly is by spreading the force on both edges of the scribe line by either using a panel or your hand and break out by pushing down the whole panel at once. The preferred sequence to break out a board is by starting with the scribe lines that are going all the way up to the edge or as close to the edge as possible. Then always select the shortest line first compared to the longest line. Thirdly, always leave the rounded corners for last.